Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining our virtual mini academy hosted by the OCPS Parent Academy team. I am Alina Davis, and I'm excited to host a special session designed for our high school families. If you are in need of translation, we do offer closed captioning on the bottom of our screen. So we will begin our time together today with introductions, followed by spotlighting the military options we offer in the United States. We will then go into a panel discussion and wrap it up with questions from you. To ask questions and interact with our panelists today, you can use the chat feature for the application. Just click on the speech bubble icon at the bottom of your screen. During this webinar, you'll be able to interact with our panelists by sending chat messages and using the reaction feature. To send a chat, look for the speech bubble icon. If you are viewing this webinar on your phone, you will need to click the person icon at first to see the chat. Once you have the chat open, select everyone so that our panelists and attendees can see your question. If you want to send an emoji reaction, click on the smiley face with the plus. If you're on your phone, you may have to tap three little dots first to see the reactions. All right, we are ready to introduce our panelists this evening. We have a few with us thus far. We're still waiting on a couple more, but we're going to start with introducing, joining us from the Army is Sergeant Joseph.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Sergeant First Class Joseph with the U.S. Army.
Welcome. All right, our representative from the Air Force is not with us at the moment, so we'll come back and introduce them later. I'm going to move on to our Marine Corps representative. Gunnery Sergeant Trevicio, would you like to say hello?
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that. At the moment, my name is Sergeant Chavez, a Marine Corps recruiter here for Orlando, essentially covering down for Gunnery Sergeant Travieso, essentially the assistant commander. So I'll be taking over for him for while he steps away.
All right, well, we are glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. All right, from the Navy, we have Petty Officer First Class Cortinas.
Good evening, everyone. IC1 Cortinas with the U.S. Navy here.
Thanks for joining us. Our representative from the Florida Army National Guard is not yet with us. That's quite all right. We're going to go on to the Coast Guard. Chief Marak and Senior Chief Prescott.
Hey, good evening, guys. I am Chief Merrick with the Coast Guard Recruiting Office here in Orlando. We service everything from Ocala all the way over to Daytona down toward Fort Myers, so a very wide AOR. Looking forward to speaking with you guys tonight, and I've got Senior Chief Prescott here with me to speak as well.
Well, welcome. We are so glad that you are all here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
So first up, we are going to let Sergeant Joseph tell us a little bit about the Army. He has a few slides here that he's going to share with you so we can learn a little bit more about the service that is offered with the Army. So
hello again, everyone. All right. Hello, everyone. I do have a couple slides here, about 7. It may be a little bit too long. I'll make it very short. All right. Once again, I am Sergeant First Class Joseph with the U.S. Army. Be a part of a team that makes the difference. All right, today I wanted to introduce you guys and let you know about the U.S. Army Reserve. You don't have to do this full time. The Army Reserve is a part-time commitment to a point where, guess what? You can join the Army and also go to school at the same time, because it seems to be a big dilemma as in, hey, I really want to serve, but at the same time, I want to go to college or I want to get my college degree first before I serve. Well, guess what? You can do both. And honestly, to tell you the truth, I think it's the best of both worlds. All right. We have a wide variety of different type of jobs, from transportation and aviation. I'm part of the aviation team. I'm a 15 Tango, a Black Hawk mechanic, and I am also a crew chief. I like to say I have the best job in the Army only because I don't just fix the aircraft, I also fly. We have a little bit of, we have combat, we have law enforcement, intelligence, computer mechanic, we have medical, we have construction engineer, and so on and so forth. Our PACE program is designed for the fact that, hey, we don't just try to just give you a certain job, because at the end of the day, the Army is one of the branches that you choose your career path. All right. If you're telling me, hey, I want to be in the medical field, we can find you a medical job that you choose your job. All right. And at the end of the day, our PACE program is set up to a point where when you're done with your first contract, you have a guaranteed interview with a partnership from the military to automatically get you straight into the door. This slide right here speaks for itself. All right, whether you're doing active duty or reserve, this is the 2023 pay scale. All right, usually you come in as a E1. All right, I like to call it level 1, but we do have promotions to get you set up to a point where you can come in as a E2. Education. All right. So from education, from loan forgiveness to our GI Bill post 9/11, at the end of the day, it's your career. I honestly say, whether you want to go to school or not, get the education. I see the military as more than just on the school side. It's also a trade school where you honestly can work and get paid at the same time. But if you have the benefit to go to school and get paid, why not? Tuition assistance. We can speak more about this on a different level. Tuition assistance is basically a $4,000 per year that everyone get that you can use towards certifications. Student loan forgiveness, repayment. That's for the individuals who go to college first and they come in with student loans. We can take care of that. Also, when it comes to Army Reserve, there's usually always an incentive from bonuses as into money, education, healthcare, job certifications, and also, guess what? You also get retirement. Just working part-time, which is 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in the summer. And this is just basic ASVAB information to a point where the ASVAB is like a career exploration type of test, so we can actually see what you're good at. This is my contact information. If you wanted to contact me, you have it there. I service all of Orlando. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant Joseph, for sharing that with us. We have some people in our Facebook chat that are giving some claps to the service that you've provided. So thank you for that. We're going to go on to the next person that is with us today. Let's see, let me switch on over here, these slides. We're going to go on to the Marine Corps with Gunnery Sergeant Treviso. If you would like to take some time to share with us about the Marine Corps.
Yes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, participants, all those family members, young individuals, young minds. Welcome to be able to hear my presentation. As I go through this, I'm gonna cover a few main things, a few benefits, some of the requirements and qualifications essentially, and then kind of I'll go a little more in depth of what it is to essentially be a Marine and why we're so few and we're so proud. With the communication, can we go ahead and hit the next slide? Perfect. So we'll start off with a few career opportunities. Next, please. Essentially, this is the main 3 things I'm going to talk about. It's not here to bore you guys to death, essentially. I'm here to kind of inform you guys, give you another insight of what it is to be us, and essentially we'll go from there. Next. So qualifications, it's pretty simple. Overall, 17 to 29 years old, a citizenship, permanent residency, essentially be able to pass the mental test, which is the ASVAB, as you can see up front. Police involvement, depending on the case and scenario where you may be involved, we'll have to talk a bit on a personal level, but some qualifications may not make you qualified. Physical standards, of course, a height and weight, and certain tattoo policies that you need to meet to be able to be a Marine. Next. Again, benefits, really, salary, pay, bonus, room, right, housing allowance. If you want to pretty much set yourself apart, you finally want to tell, hey, mom, dad, thank you for taking care of me for the last 18 years of my life, right? I kind of want to be that grown individual. I want to have some self-independence, self-reliance. I want to show you that the person you've raised from a young age to now is something that they can rely upon and they can be that individual. This is where you're going to start now, right? You bridge off, you make your own life. Essentially, you get everything ready for yourself to set you up for success for your later on in your life. Next. So technical skills, about 300 occupational skills that you can possibly earn, state-of-the-art training. So that just shows you that no matter what you're gonna do, we will set you up for success. It's not we just drop you in somewhere and then you're trying to realize, well, how do I do this? How do I go from point A to point B? How do I essentially communicate myself? How do I excel? This is what we do. We train you guys hands-on training, calisthenic learning, and then from there you can actually excel in your career fields, whatever you choose, whatever you qualify for, and then that way you can keep going forward. Awesome. Career fields, as you can see, I'll give you guys a brief moment to kind of look through it. Everything that you can possibly think of that's out there right now in the civilian world, or essentially outside of the military, is there for use inside the military to take advantage of, to be ready, to be successful, and essentially have a stable, secure path to what you're trying to do in life. That, again, ladies and gentlemen, is what the military is. No matter what branch you may be going into, I will always say this, welcome to the 1% if you do, and it's a really big 1%. Even though it's only 1%. All right. A lot of jobs, a lot of opportunities to take advantage of. And I always say this to every young man, individual that I talk to, take advantage of the military. It's the best thing you can use. It's the same thing that will get you where you need to be in a secure path. Next. So for those individuals that may want to kind of dive into the military, but don't fully want to commit their full time, they're like, hey, you know what, sir? This sounds great. I just don't see myself doing this at a full-time rate. It sounds great. If only had an option, another option, essentially. Well, we do. It's called the reserves, right? You get to work near home. You get to still follow your day-to-day life. Really, it only takes away about 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in the summer, and you can still keep pursuing your career path outside of the military, but still kind of have that extra foot in. What's the benefit about being a reservist? Excuse me, it makes you different. Resume, what makes you stick out? You have to ask yourself at a very, very young age, as you're going through life, as you're going through high school, as you're going to get your bachelor's, what makes you different from everyone else that just graduated at the same degree path that you just did? You need to be marketable, presentable, stick out. This is what reservists do. They make themselves different to be able to get that job guarantee and actually be looked at as not just a basic, oh, you just graduated from college, you have a bachelor's degree. What else can you offer? This is what reservists do to make themselves different and stick out. Next. As I mentioned before, you're going to hear this a lot, but educational opportunities, yes, every branch will cover all your school. It's all the same. The biggest thing about it, again, take advantage of it. If you're looking for trouble, if you're looking how to get away from that trouble of how to not go into debt, military will help you out in the long run. Next. Travel and adventure, of course, for the young minds that really want to explore the world, they just don't have the funds. They don't understand how to properly do it. They want to plan properly. There's a lot of categories inside the Marines. Essentially, the embassy duty is the biggest number one thing we can offer you guys to, one, explore the world. Countries, places you never think you can possibly go. For us, the embassy duty is the best thing you can possibly use to your advantage. Next. And again, that's really what it is, ladies and gentlemen. I will say this, why Marines are here, essentially. One, we are the smallest branch for a reason, 175 strong, and that just shows you that we're still here even with the smallest force. So please consider it. This is the information you could use to obtain any information that you need more. And if you kind of want to look a little bit dressed well better, you can talk to us. All right. Thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for giving us the insight into the Marines. Wow, we've already learned about 2 great branches. We're going to move on to another one. Next, we're going to hear from Petty Officer First Class Cortinas with the Navy. What makes the Navy so special?
Can you see my video?
Let's see.
Oh, there he goes.
There you are. Awesome.
All right. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Petty Officer First Class Cortinas with the U.S. Navy. So essentially, pretty much what you're going to hear tonight, it's pretty much going to be the same thing, right? A lot of the branches can offer the same college benefits, same job careers. It's just what I tell everyone who's deciding on what branch they want to join. It's just a lifestyle difference, right? We all get paid the same. We all get the very similar benefits, just minor tweaks here and there. But so for the most part, it's gonna be repetitive. So I'm just gonna kind of go through, our jobs, our college stuff, and specifically, and then at the end, I'm gonna go over some common misconceptions that I hear a lot about the Navy. and then we'll go from there. Okay. So some of our job options, right? So we do have aviation field, right? Electronics, engineering, submarines. If you're an athletic type person, you might consider our special warfare program when it comes to like what it takes to become a Navy SEAL, a Navy diver, an EOD, explosive ordnance disposal, and that sorts. So if you're an athletic type, you might want to consider that. If you're a super smart person, you might consider our nuclear field. That's kind of up there when it comes to like civilian side opportunities. And that's a guaranteed six-figure job outside the Navy if you were to pick up a nuclear fuel contract. So so that's kind of like a general basis of our jobs. Benefits in college, pretty much we do the same thing as the Army, $4,000 a year for you to pursue certificates, for you to go to school when you're not doing Navy stuff, right? Other benefits such as the VA home loan, if you decide you want to buy a house, you don't got to put no money down. So that saves you about a good $60,000 in your savings that you don't got to put down. So that's really beneficial. Another thing we do a lot in the Navy is traveling, right? In my short 8 years service in the Navy, I visited about 12 different countries. I've done 2 deployments, and I've loved every minute of it so far. So I got 12 years left to retirement, and then I get a paycheck for the rest of my life. So let me see here. And now I'm gonna get on to some common misconceptions about the Navy. Okay, I've always heard that in the Navy we're always out to sea, right? Not the case. So I'm gonna give you my first example. My first deployment was 6 months, right? We cannot sustain ourselves out to sea straight for 6 months. We gotta get food, we gotta get fuel, right? So every 2 or 3 weeks, we gotta pull it into a port. My first port visit was Australia. So we normally spend about 4 days in port. 1 day you gotta be working, and the other 3 days you're free to go explore that country. So and that time while we're in port, we'll fuel up, we get some food, all the good stuff, then it's time to go back out. And then that just keeps happening for however long your deployment is, 6 months, right? So by the time you're done with a 6-month deployment, you've seen 6 or 7 countries, and by the time you know it, you're back in home port. So that's kind of where the traveling aspect comes into play as well. And you can't really spend no money in the middle of the ocean either. So you come back with a couple 10,000 plus in your bank account. So that's always good. Let me see here. Well, also, while you're out to sea, we do have phones, we do have internet. You will not lose contact with your family, right? So that if you're worried about missing out on family things, you'll always have contact with them at all times. Let me see. So are most of our jobs on ships? That is 90% accurate. We do have some jobs that never see a ship, like our hospital corpsman. You decide to be in the medical field, or our cryptologic technicians, intel, something like that. You'll probably never see a ship. And then we have the same thing, active and reserves. We offer bonuses for high school seniors at the moment as well. I don't have a slide. I'll put my number on here. So I service all of Orlando as well. My number will be 407-259-0286. So those of you interested in getting more information, that's pretty much all I got.
All right. Thank you, Petty Officer First Class Cortinas. I have dropped that phone number here into the chat. So you can also reach out. And these slides will be available through our website, as well as a recording of the video. So thank you to our friends that are joining us through Facebook Live. If you logged in late, it's okay. You'll get to watch the videos later on. So we're going to move on to our next representative here. And that is going to be Chief Merrick and Senior Chief Prescott from the Coast Guard. So if you would like to go ahead and turn on your video, the floor is yours. We'd love to hear what y'all do.
Hey, everybody. All right. So me, Chief Merrick, Senior Chief Prescott, we're going to give you guys a little rundown on the Coast Guard, because a lot of people don't really know exactly what the Coast Guard does. So we are not part of DOD. We are part of Homeland Security, meaning we do a lot of law enforcement, search and rescue, drug interdiction. Anytime you see those crazy hurricanes out there, Coast Guard is the first ones to go out and help save some lives. So we are not taking lives, we are saving lives. That's the big motto for the Coast Guard. That makes us different. We get the same pay, the same benefits. I know all the branches, they have been talking about this the whole time. Everything is the same for us. Education, insurance, healthcare, you name it, we're getting the same exact thing. Tuition assistance. Senior Chief, what else you got for them?
Yeah, so I'm seeing Chief Prescott. I'm the recruiter in charge here, and like Chief Merrick says, he's the assistant recruiter in charge. I actually came over from the Navy to the Coast Guard, so I had lived the DoD lifestyle, and let me tell you, the Coast Guard offers an array of different things, the search and rescue, just like Chief Merrick says, the law enforcement, the drug interdiction. We bust more drugs than any other agency in the entire world. One of the biggest drug busts I've been a part of was $400 million worth of cocaine. Not only that, we protect the environment, so we make sure our waters are clean. We protect all the endangered species. We regulate all natural resources coming out of the waterway. Trillions and trillions of dollars worth of goods transfer between our ports. We make sure that those safe operations continue to happen every day. And on top of that, the Coast Guard is the only branch of the military that actually lets you shadow and see all the jobs first, and then you get to choose the job that you want. So we're not going to classify what you can do by your ASVAB. From an accession standpoint, the Coast Guard, you get the basic qualifying score, and then you can come in, see any of our career fields, and then you can choose the one you want. The thing is, we don't want our apprenticeship program to be confused with an open contract from the Marines or an open contract from the Army or the Air Force or the Navy PAC Seaman and PAC Airman program, because they got to base off the needs of the service, where the Coast Guard don't. And the reason why is because we only have 42,000 people in the Coast Guard. So we really want to make sure that we retain the services of the people that comes in. Our retention rate is the highest of all military services. Some people say it may be the Air Force, but it's actually us. The Coast Guard, where we station at, we're going to be every 40 to 60 miles around the United States. Every major coastal city. There's not a beach that the Coast Guard is not on. What the most educated branch of the military, because we don't have the amount of deployments as the other branches may have. Coast Guard, we primarily in the United States. We got 5 locations overseas, Hawaii, Guam, Alaska, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. We typically, our members who join, when they first come in, they get to choose where a geographical location where they want to be at. They're going to get something within their top 4. I can go on and on and on talking about the Coast Guard and what it has to offer. We don't have the 3-digit job selections like everybody else. Everybody has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs. The Coast Guard, we don't operate like that. We have 19 different career specialties. For instance, I'm a mechanical engineer. I do all mechanical engineering for the Coast Guard. And anything that's mechanical engineering that I'm going to eventually work on, I get the training for that. So we really don't split our jobs up like the other branches. We are system experts and not a piece of the system expert, if one would say that. It's a great service. You got anything else, Chief Merrick? One thing I would like to say is the Coast Guard get paid just like any other branch of the military. There's a myth out there that's saying that when the government shuts down, that the Coast Guard don't get paid. That is not true. I hope nobody is using that against the Coast Guard. We get the same retirement plan as everybody else. We just not professionals of warfare, but any branch that you choose, it make sure it fits your personality and what you want to do, and don't limit yourself to just the other 4 branches, come down and talk to Coast Guard recruiters just like you would talk to any other recruiter.
Retention rate?
Yeah.
All right. Like Senior Chief said, Coast Guard's got a very high retention rate. 95% retention rate for Coast Guard members. So that right there says a lot. We have fun. We love our job. We're a very small branch. We treat each other like family. If you guys or your kids are interested in more information with us, please give us a call. 407-988-4211. That's going to be my cell phone for me directly. And then the number for our office is 407-352-3897. And then we also have a reserve program. Senior Chief's going to talk about that for a second.
Yeah, I think my biggest pitch about the Coast Guard reserves is, uninterrupted duty. You know what I mean? Only time a Coast Guard reservist is going to be called up is it's a major hurricane hit a part of the coast. So typically our members that are in the reserves, they don't have to worry about deployments or anything like that. And since we have so many reservists in different locations in a state, we really have flexibility when it comes to when they drill and when they can't drill. But nobody is going to get rich in the military reserves, but it's a way to serve.
All right. And I think we're done. If you guys have any questions, please give us a call. Have a good night.
Thank you so much. Wow, I learned a lot of new things about the Coast Guard today. My experience with Coast Guard has been out in the ocean when I've been fishing and I see y'all right around making sure we're safe, but I didn't realize a lot of the facts that you shared. So thanks for joining us today. So the next thing that we'd like to do is go ahead, those of you that are still on with us, if you want to go ahead and turn on your cameras, we're going to have an opportunity for a quick discussion. Just got a few questions coming in from our Facebook chat over here. And then some of these are probably general answers for all of you, and others might be a little bit more specific to different branches. But one of the questions that came up is, what is the ASVAB? So who would like to explain that to us?
Good evening. My name is Gary Sergeant Chavez, so I kind of just took over from Sergeant Chavez. But I guess I'll kind of give a quick wave top of what the ASVAB is. So it's the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test. But what I tell a lot of seniors and graduates that we speak to mostly, it's percentile based and allows us to see what type of specific jobs or MOSs that you'll hear us say a lot you might qualify for within the military service. Now, there's certain set line scores throughout that test. So someone that might have been turning wrenches their whole life in the garage, they probably would naturally do better in the mechanical range. And someone that's just really good at math and English, obviously they would do better in that range. So every branch has their own. So we all have, the ASVAB has its own set scores, but when you actually get the scores printed out, every branch, they kind of have different, readings per se. So something that for us would qualify, it might not necessarily qualify for a different branch, vice versa. So that's bare bones. There is a lot more to it. But I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. What I like to say about the ASVAB is this right here. One, the ASVAB is English and reading. Your arithmetic, your word knowledge, your paragraph comprehension, and your what's the other one? Paragraph comprehension, word knowledge, arithmetic, reasoning, and mathematical knowledge. That makes up something called your AFQT. The other parts of the ASVAB is what you call vocational stuff. Can it be used to help qualify you for anything? Yes. But out of that AFQT, there's something called a GT. No matter how anybody breaks it down in any branch of service, your GT is always going to be your meats and potatoes on what you're going to qualify for. The Coast Guard doesn't break it down like everybody else does. We come from the standard format of the ASVAB, and we very, very GT heavy, and we can use the other ends of the ASVAB to help put you into something, like I said, there's nothing you are limited to.
That's great information. So for all of our OCPS families, each one of your high schools has a college and career specialist, and they will be able to connect you with resources to help prepare for the ASVAB, as well as to help you connect with our different guests this evening if you have more questions about how to prepare for that and kind of seeing what would work out best for you. Thank you for those answers there. Another question that we have here coming in is, do you have to be a U.S. citizen to join any of these branches? Does anybody want to answer that for me? Because I don't know.
Hello? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry. So for us, you just be a U.S. citizen, ma'am, or a permanent resident. Obviously, there's a lot of different, like birth abroad. You were born of U.S. parents on a different country, but it's U.S. citizen or a permanent resident, I-551, or obviously commonly known as the green card. So one or the other.
Okay. And is that the same for all the branches then?
Pretty much.
Pretty much. Okay.
That is correct.
All right. Thank you. All right. So one of the things that we know, a lot of our servicemen and women will serve for a while and then they'll go out and take on a civilian job. How prepared are the individuals for moving into the private sector, the civilian sector, after finishing a service?
On behalf of the Coast Guard, our members are very, very prepared. You know what I mean? One, because we learn whole entire systems. You know what I mean? To give you an example, like I said, I'm mechanical engineer, marine mechanical engineer. Like when I had 6 years in the Coast Guard, I had Evinrude, Yamaha, Honda, Mercury, Caterpillar, Cummins, MTU, electro-hydraulics, mechanical hydraulics, turbines, and I had the civil engineering side of it. And while I was in also, I'm in the Coast Guard. So I'm not deploying a lot. So I was able to finish my master's degree within my first 6 years of being in the Coast Guard, and that's just a few certifications that I had, so you can take what you learn and you can apply it to civilian and you can go out to the outside world very easily, just to give another example, like our aviation, our aviation guys we got two. We got an AMT and we got a AET. They're all FFA certified, after they're a complete full trained avionics or aviation mechanical tech. You can look that up on the FFA website, so we transition very, very, very well.
Excellent. Anybody else have some input on just some different ways you can use your skills from the service when you're out in the civilian world?
Yes, I would also say one thing that kind of gets put, no matter what branch you're in, the opportunities are provided for you to be successful after the military. If that individual does not take those opportunities, and utilize them, then that's on the individual. I've seen people on these deployments studying. I've seen people on ships doing college work and college level courses, so on and so forth. And that's because they had the drive to do so. So regardless of whether you have time, there's a drive within that person that is required. So there are programs that prepare you for life after the military, because no matter whether we do 4 years or 20, we're all going to take these uniforms off at one point in time. Those programs help you seamlessly transition into certain programs. There's something called Skill Bridge. Just for example, it's a program where you're technically still on active duty, you're still getting paid, but you're working maybe in a police academy or in a apprenticeship program to seamlessly transition you to a civilian job, but you're still getting paid as an active duty Marine in our case. So I know Skill Bridge is not only that's DoD wide, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe my counterparts can help me out here. I'm pretty sure it's DoD wide, but I know a lot of my peers have used it for myself. So it's big. It's all on the individual, I would say. If you're lazy, you're lazy.
That is correct. It's DoD wide, and like you said, you couldn't have said it any better. It's all up to you.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So let's say I decide I want to enlist and it doesn't seem to be a good fit for me. What are my options?
So, you know, the military, when you enlist and you realize that it's, man, this is really not a good fit for me. I'll just give you an example. I realized, because I went in the Navy first, right? So when I went in the Navy and I realized that the Navy wasn't the lifestyle that I wanted to live, you know, that's when you as a person come into play. I didn't quit. I still went to my job. I performed every single day, like a sailor is supposed to perform. You know, that what makes my transition easier on the way out. And before I went into the Coast Guard, because I performed the way I was supposed to do, I needed 3 letters of recommendation, to make sure that I get into the Coast Guard. And because I did what I was supposed to do, they I was able to get those letters of recommendation. They highly recommend me, and I was able to bid out with no problem and transition over into the Coast Guard, where I'm happy at now. Now, are there administrative means that you can get out of the military? Absolutely. Absolutely, there are. You can voluntarily separate, but all that stuff has to be approved by whatever your command staff is. Do we have people that join and realize that they are not a good fit? Absolutely. Every day. I don't think none of us going to sit up here and lie. You cannot make everybody happy. There will be some people that may be a little bit unhappy with services, although we were tried for it not to happen. But also, all of us have what is called mentorship programs within all of our services, where you can talk to somebody to help you transition to being in the military, because it is new, and the majority of the people that join are very, very young, and they just need that extra guidance to help them get through that. Hey, let me figure this out period on to be performing Marines, or performing soldiers, airmen, sailors, or even coasties.
Yeah, that's really helpful information to hear. And I think I have 2 teenagers, and I worry about when they leave home and what that's going to be like. And to know that there's somebody there that's going to mentor you and support you when you are struggling is, very confirming of those different decisions. And so I'm sure for all of you, you probably had moments throughout your service time where you might have felt more isolated or needed a little bit more support. How has the people within your area of work supported you so that you can still feel connected and not alone through this process? I know a lot of people worry about those things when their kids go away.
I think in the military, we all have an array of different mentorship programs. You know what I mean? I think that is where that same team aspect come into play. You know what I mean? Because military members, we some things that we get introduced to as an entry level is going to be very, very, very new to us. We have programs to where we can call people and they won't even know. Our command staff won't even know. Our direct supervisor won't even know. There are all kind of different things that we have that you can use to help you get through those hard times, and what portray as hard times in the service. I think everybody can say that. And that is something that the military really, really took a hold of. This is not the Vietnam era anymore, or the Cold War era anymore, or the first Iraqi War era anymore. Making sure that we retain our members as a whole is very important to every branch of the military. And a happy person is going to be a performing person, at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Petty Officer First Class Cortinez, you had wanted to share something? No,
No,
I
sorry,
thought you
sorry
had your
about that.
hand up.
No, we're good. Sorry about that. I'm
Okay,
good.
no worries. Sergeant Joseph, did you want to speak to any of the comments that we had earlier?
I did want to say something about that. We do have something called an open door policy where it's okay. You can go talk to your leadership, but usually it doesn't even get that high. All right. It's like I heard this earlier in the conversation. We bond together like a family. you're able to talk to the person beside you like a brother, like a sister. All right. And if they're not able to help you, they're able to guide you in that direction where you can get help. You don't have to feel alone. All right.
It's definitely comforting. Family is definitely important, and when you work in an environment where you feel supported, it makes it a lot easier to work through those challenges. You know, being away from home for long periods of time and things like that. Another question that came up. I know we talked about this. Can the military help pay for college? And I believe that was something we addressed. After so many years of service, there is that opportunity to have college paid for. And then here was another question. How long is the typical commitments? Like, how long do you have to serve? My father served his entire career, 30 some odd years, but I don't think everybody has to do that.
Correct, ma'am. So specifically for the Marine Corps, most of our contracts are 4 years. Most of them on the active duty side, a few are 5. Usually the ones that are 5 years are the ones where the MOS is in the aviation field, just because that schooling is longer. So giving them time to actually execute what they've been training on for a little while. That's why those contracts are 5 years. And we call it 4x4 or 5x3. So what that is 4 years active duty, 4 years inactive reserve. You're out on that back end of the 4 years. You're done. You've served your time honorably, hopefully so, and you're going to have done your thing. After those 4 years, you're able to re-enlist, and it depends. There's re-enlistments, there's extensions. I'm not going to go too in depth with that, but that's on the individual whether they want to re-enlist or not. On the reserve side, obviously, it's a little different for us, but to answer the question plainly, 4 years is our average. I believe it's different with the other branches, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct. On the Army side, we start off at 3 years, and our more prestige jobs like on the medical field to cybersecurity to aviation, that's usually around 5 to 6 years.
That sounds like a great option if you're unsure if you want to be there for life, or want to give it a shot. But serving our country is definitely something that's important for all. Go ahead.
And we have the reserve side, which is 6 years, but 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in the summer.
Yeah, we have 2, 4, 6, and that's it.
Okay. So
for the Navy, it'll range from 3 to 6 years depending on the job as well.
okay, all right. So that sounds doable. I'm not sure if it's doable for somebody who's nearly 50. What's the enlistment ages that you typically have?
For the Army, it's 17 to 35. And everything after 35 requires a waiver. And if it's over 40, it's usually on the reserve side. All right. So that's
there
what
is a
we
chance
have
for me. Is that the same for the other branches as well?
17 to 41.
Ours is 17. It's 17 to 28. You can ship at 28 and you can turn 29 to boot camp. So there's the asterisk. There is an age waiver past that. But just being honest with you, it's a higher up age waiver. So about 17 to 28 is the sweet spot for us in the Marine Corps.
All right. Well,
And
that's
for
good
Navy,
news.
Navy would be 17 to 42.
17 to 42. Okay. Well, that's good news for our students who are getting ready to graduate high school, and for our families that are listening that, maybe considering a career change here, if they're within that age range. So definitely consider that. So we're going to start wrapping up here. And I'd like to ask a question for each that each one of you can respond to before we close out for the evening. If you could tell us, what is it that you feel is the most important reason why we should join your service branch? So I'm going to start with Sergeant Joseph.
All right. So for me, it was the 3 things: education, experience, and stability. It speaks for itself. All right. I received the education. I did go to school. I got my bachelor's. I'm working on my master's. I don't just have the education, I have the experience. So I don't just know how to do the work, I can actually perform. And for me, I'm married. I have 2 boys, a 7 and a 4. Stability is a big thing. All right. Knowing that my family can count on me. All right. My wife is a stay-at-home mom. She takes care of my boys. She doesn't have to work. I am well taken care of. So that was the three major things for me: education, experience, and stability.
All right. Thank you, Sergeant Joseph, for sharing. Gunnery Sergeant Treviso.
Yes, ma'am. So specifically for us in the Marines, I have a saying: if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. It's kind of common knowledge. Obviously, with us, we're a little more intense, but some people stray away from that. But I tell everybody I sit down with, if you're looking for a challenge, obviously the Marine Corps is there for you. Every branch has a challenge. It's not to knock anyone. One. My brother did 20 years in the Air Force. My sister did 4 years in the Navy. So obviously, I have love, and I know the success you can have in every single branch, in every single part of the DoD. I've seen it myself, but there's something specific. Marine Corps, obviously, being small, being very challenge oriented. So the benefits are all the same. So you got to ask yourself, okay, if I know the benefits are the same, like why would I step into that challenge? That's on the individual, and obviously that's why we go through a very intense interview process. So for me personally, the challenge.
Thank you. That's a great reason. Petty Officer First Class Cortinas.
Thank you. Yeah. So for for the Navy, I would say stability as well as like for a 17, 18-year-old, you know, doesn't know exactly what they want to do for the rest of, you know, after high school. I would say, you know, this is a good stepping stone to go in the right direction to, you know, figure out what you want to do. You know, some people, I tried 1 year of college. I didn't really like it. I just got myself in $10,000 in debt. So it wasn't my thing. So then I joined till I was 21, and then, you know, I joined the Navy. It gave me a good electrician career, so I got all this good training that I can translate over to the civilian side. And then if I were ever to get out of the Navy, I would have something solid to go back on. So, you know, I have a wife and a 7-month-old, so they're definitely taken care of as well. Yeah, definitely stability and a good step in the right direction.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Senior Chief Prescott.
Biggest thing for me was a balance. You know, a balance of diversity when it comes to diversity within missions. The Coast Guard had life-saving missions. I realized that I wasn't really set out to be a part of warfare, you know, and the Coast Guard gave me that opportunity. The other thing is I wanted the military benefits, you know, but I wanted to do other things too. But I also needed that balance of the family life, and the Coast Guard offered me that, you know, because I was able to be more of a at the home front, you know what I mean? And the value of doing life-saving missions. Like one of my first missions was I went out on the waterway in Fort Myers with a small boat crew, and we got a call that this young kid was in the water, and we was able to pull up to that kid, pull him in the boat, and do CPR on him, bring him back to life, take him and his family back to the dock. And I was like, wow. You know, and that day I was able to go home and tell my wife what I just done that day. You know what I mean? It was like direct impacts of missions that take place every single day, but also having that balance to be able to tell my wife, like, hey, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing, this is when I come back, and also be able to talk to her while I was out there doing what I needed to do, you know. You know, and that was a big thing to me. And also, you know, everybody who joined on in the military wants to make themselves better, you know, because we don't wear the uniform every day. And the Coast Guard offered me that balance to where I could do that too, you know, at the same time, you know. That's my why.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much to each and every one of you for sharing about the work that you do and your service to our country. We're very grateful to have all of you with us this evening, and also for your continued service. For those of you that would like to learn more about any of these branches, you know, like I mentioned earlier, reach out to your college career specialist on your high school campus, and they can connect you to these amazing individuals. If you have a moment to share some feedback with us about our Virtual Mini Academy series this evening, you can complete the survey. There's also a place for comments. So if you have any specific input that you would like to give us on the series, as well as any questions that may come to you at a later date, please feel free to share that with us. And then also our Parent Academy website will also include future events. We have a in-person Parent Academy coming up at the beginning of May 6th. You'll find that information here on our website. And thank you again to our wonderful panel this evening. Again, we thank you for your service and helping us understand that we can make a difference in this world. So everyone have a wonderful evening.
Thank you for having us, ma'am. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you for the support.